I'm Edith Maxwell. I also write as Maddie Day, and I write 3 mystery series, 2 cozy contemporaries as Maddie Day, and I write a historical Quaker midwife mysteries set in the late 1880s in Massachusetts. So I thought I would read a little bit from the book that's coming out June 30th, NACHO AVERAGE MURDER, which is my 7th country store mystery. Normally this series takes place in southern Indiana in a breakfast and lunch restaurant in a country store. In this book, my protagonist, Robbie Jordan, goes back to Santa Barbara, where she's from, for her 10th high school reunion. She's young. And it's not Indiana, and it's February, and it's not cold, and you know, there's fresh strawberries and stuff. And also, for me, 5 o'clock is not tea time, it's martini time. I'm going to be sipping my martini.
Roast it.
It's a Quaker martini, of course.
It's what? I mean, I would have made a margarita if I had any limes, but because this is in Southern California, but I don't have any limes, so we're going gin and olive. So I'm going to read chapter 6. It's a very short chapter, because that's where things kind of get exciting. Background, Robbie's mother died suddenly about 3 years before this book takes place. It was apparently a natural death. Now people are saying, now that she's out there again, they're wondering if maybe it wasn't a natural death. After I locked the bike I'd borrowed from Carmen for a ride around the city, I meandered toward the lake in the middle of Alice Keck Park, a green oasis downtown. I checked the time on my phone. Paul had said he would find me here at 4 after his meeting, so I told him what I looked like. He'd invited me to attend the gathering first, but hanging out with environmentalists wasn't what I was after. I only wanted to hear his thoughts about my mother's death. It was nearly 4 and the winter sun was already on its decline. I shivered and pulled up the zipper on my fleece all the way. I hoped he wouldn't be late. The bike didn't have a light, so I needed to get back to Carmen's before darkness fell in an hour and a half. A ratty sleeping bag stuck out from behind a tall silver maple tree, and a head of matted hair was nearly hidden in the bag. I'd seen other homeless people around town, many more than had been in evidence 10 years ago. The economy was taking its toll, and in a warm climate like this one, it wasn't life-threatening for them to sleep outside year-round, unlike in Indiana. Still, I felt bad that anyone had to live without a roof over their head. I kept going until I walked over a wooden bridge spanning a burbling stream. It coursed down a few smooth stones into the small artificial lake. Mallards, seagulls, and black and white geese paddled around, while a cormorant perched on a rock in the middle of the water. The pond had a freshwater smell that reminded me of Lake Lemon back home. I was watching a dozen turtles sunning themselves on a log in the shallows when a deep voice behind me said, "Robbie Jordan?" I turned to see a tall, wiry man carrying a bike helmet. "Yes, are you Paul?" That would be me. His curly black hair formed a wild nimbus around his head. He was probably 10 or 15 years older than me and wore a plaid shirt and faded jeans with the right pants leg still rolled up from his ride. I shook his proffered hand. "Shall we sit?" He gestured toward a bench by the side of the lake and cleared his throat after we perched on it. "First, let me offer my condolences on your mother's passing. She was a wonderful woman." "Thank you, she was." I looked more closely at him. "Wait, were you at her memorial service?" "Yes." "I thought you looked familiar." His name hadn't rung any bells when Liz mentioned it, but I'm good with faces. I knew I'd seen him before. "I didn't get a chance to speak to you after the service," he continued. "I had to go straight to work. I'm sorry." "It's okay. I was pretty dazed at the time. What do you do for work?" "I bike deliver takeout meals for the Green Artichoke. It's a low carbon footprint local foods restaurant down in the Funk Zone. They make quite good food and have a philosophy I can get behind." "Sounds interesting. It wasn't there when I was growing up." Somebody else had mentioned the green artichoke, but I couldn't think who at the moment. Liz said you were interested in my thoughts about Janine. His expression was intense, his dark eyebrows pulled together in the middle. His knee jittered up and down, and he seemed to be avoiding making eye contact with me. Everybody seems to think something was off about her death, I said slowly. This is the first time I've heard of it. What do you know? What do you know? Sorry. She'd been active in our group for a few years. We were working hard to get some of the most toxic fumigants banned in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. What, like chemicals they use for termite fumigation? No, they're used in strawberry fields, which you must know are common near the coast. There's a tiny pest called a nematode that eats strawberry roots. So the farmers essentially sterilize the soil before planting. Sterilizing soil sounds awful. It is. These chemicals are neurotoxins. They don't get into the berries, or so the chemical companies claim. But when the fumigants are sprayed, it's extremely dangerous for the health of the farm workers and neighbors because it's airborne. People and animals can't help but breathe it. Wow, that's terrible. No kidding. An alpaca farmer next to one of the big strawberry farms in Oxnard says her animals got sick. The farm workers' health suffers. It's bad news, Robbie. Oxnard was the flat, fertile coastal plain not far down the coast from here, beyond Ventura. There must be an alternative to for farmers, I said. Something organic, maybe? He grimaced. The alternative is for them to rotate their crops and use organic products. They don't want to. Big farmers monocrop as cheaply as they can, grow the same product in the same place year round, and strip the soil of any natural defenses so people all over the country can eat big, juicy California strawberries whenever they want. Ouch. I'd think twice next time I was tempted to buy strawberries in February in Indiana. I don't get how this fumigant is connected to my mother's death, though. I glanced up at the mountains visible above the trees. The western sun had turned the craggy peaks from their usual sandy tone to a pinker hue. There's a guy who's a muckety-muck at the chemical company up in Goleta. He gestured vaguely northwest, at AgroSafe. Can you believe that name? They make monocropping safe for farmers' bank accounts, but not for the workers or the neighbors. Is it near UCSB? The university campus, one of 9 scattered up and down the state, had a reputation as a surfer school in earlier years, but had upped its research game recently, spawning a number of companies nearby. Right, your mom butted heads with this dude big time. Name's Walter Rusum. My eyes flew wide. I went to school with a Catherine Rusum. I bet she's his daughter. Catherine, the reunion organizer, the one with a grudge against me. Could be. Janine called him out at a public meeting, said he was a murderer. Wow. She never told me about him. I mean, I knew she was getting interested in environmental questions, but I never heard her get about her passion getting to that level. Yeah, he nodded. Rusum didn't like it much. When was Paul going to get to the point? And? He gazed at a couple of coots paddling across the lake, their white beaks striking against their black heads and bodies. He twisted to look into my eyes. I think Rusum poisoned your mom. NACHO Average Murder. It comes out from Kensington on June 30th.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as someone with a farm that does not spray neurotoxins, I approve.
Right.
I have an apple orchard. So.
My first mystery series, which concluded after 5 books, was a locavore, the local foods mysteries, set on an organic farm in Massachusetts. And I used to have a small certified organic farm in this area north of Boston. So I blog with several groups, and the main one is the Wicked Authors. We used to be the Wicked Cozy Authors, but some of us have branched out into not cozy, so we're the Wicked Authors. WickedAuthors.com. 6 great New England authors, and I hope you come and visit us there too. And also I'm at kellercharacters.com on the 3rd of the month, and at Mystery Lovers Kitchen on the 2nd and 4th Fridays. So there are ways to keep in touch.